Welcome to Graham Kerr's Kitchen. It's really two programs in one. This is a series that appeals to your creative side. Food that is sumptuous stuff. How could that be? This is a program about people who want to eat healthy and reduce calories. Actually, it's about food with an aromatic quality that fills the nose. Oh, sure. But it's also about keeping my arteries clean by reducing fat. But it doesn't mean a thing if the food isn't rich and colorful. Maximize the flavor. Okay, but I must have healthy food that I can cook in minutes. I must minimize the risk. So welcome to Graham Kerr's Kitchen, where we get our heads together just for you. Hey, welcome back. What may be a tremendous historic occasion, truly, because you see, if you go back about a quarter of a century, what you wind up with is, if you can go back a quarter of a century, was the Galloping Gourmet. And in those days, my sponsor at one time said, do a stuffed pepper. Yes, sir, I said. So we did a stuffed pepper, and the cameras broke down in the middle of the program, and the pepper went rancid somehow. I don't quite know. I've never been able to repeat it, but it did. It went rancid. And who, lo and behold, who I should get from the audience was a student activist of some kind. She would have complained about anything, I'm sure of it, but she was really ready for it. And she ate it, and before she could get a word out, I said, yuck, you know, this is awful. The only time in my whole career that anything absolutely tasted awful. And she agreed with me, by the way. So you might have remembered that occasion. Well, because of that, I've had this thing about peppers ever since. Stuffed peppers, forget it. I won't even look at a recipe until Jolene sent one in. I looked at this and I thought to myself, well, you know, this could work. Now, let me introduce you to Jolene. Jolene Lampert, married to Ron. And Ron was recovering from surgery a little while ago, and he watched the program, bought the book, and now they record the programs and get on with it. And I'm delighted that it's helping, by the way. Your father's from the South. You have a goal which is about 30% from calories and fat. You feel healthy. Everything's fine in your family, but you'd like to be healthy and stay that way. That's a good idea. Okay, let's have a look. Let's see some of the things on the major sheet, which I always throw to one side. You like Italian, Mexican, Chinese food. By the way, when you do this at home, when you work out your national cooking style, squeeze it together and you'll find some idea of fusion about the foods that you really like, the kind of thing you'd enjoy, like stir frying and steaming and roast turkey. And here are some interesting things. Cilantro, cayenne, and cumin are three seasonings that she loves. Ron, on the other hand, does not like cilantro. So there's a bit of a war going on there. Then for Ron, it's basil, and for, you know, and for Jolene, it's cilantro, and she loves it. Turkey and beans. Whoa, I can do something about that. Sweet peppers, asparagus, strained yogurt. Well, by looking at all of that together, it seemed that there would be a stuffed pepper dish that could be an absolute riot. And do you know what? We actually did it. Come through and I'll show you how. Well, now, first of all, it's very important, this whole business of the Minimax, you know, basic springboard idea. And what happens in this case is that it's stack and steam. Now, stack and steam really means having something that you know the bamboo containers, those things which stack one on top of the other? You can get those. Well, you know, they can get a bit woofy after a while. This is a stack and steam which is in stainless steel, and it's got a couple of unusual things about it. Now, the first thing that's important is that if you're going to put something in for a family, say in this case it's going to be the stuffed peppers, and so I'll just get ahead of the game, there's not much space there for anything, you know, just another couple and you've got it completely filled. So therefore 10 inches across, it needs to be what you actually need to have. Now, if you were to put the second rung on there, it doesn't work because they're too tall. So you need something where you can take the center ring out and put that on there like that. Now you've got enough space to be able to put the lid on the top, and they can do wonderfully well. Okay, in fact, we've got room for another one to go on the top there like this for some vegetables, and I'll show you that a little later. But over here, let's have a look at the water. When you're putting water together for this, you need enough water, and I've used my old bash and chop for this purpose here. You can see it's almost on the 2 inch mark, you need a ½ inch for every 10 minutes of boiling. This takes 20 minutes, so that takes an inch, and you need some insurance, you know, so don't run it to the exact inch, so give it another ½ inch, and it needs to be that deep, though, if you're going to do a long steaming process. All right, so we just put this on the top. The water must be coming to the boil from the time that you start to time it. Put the lid on, and let me show you the timer. There we go. Now, just any kind of timer that you've got, but this you need to do. Set it for the 20 minutes, okay? And it's going to take 20 minutes of steaming time, okay? Now, then cut it back by 5 minutes, because I've got 5 minutes there is going to be an additional vegetable that goes on the top, but I want it to come out at the perfectly right time. So because of that, I'm going to dial it back to 15. It'll tell me when 15's up. Then put the other stuff in for 5 minutes, and hey, we got it made. All right? Ready? Let's see what's on the menu today.
Today on Graham Kerr's Kitchen, smoked turkey stuffed peppers Lambert. Sweet red peppers filled with turkey, rice, and kidney beans.
All right, Jolene, you ready for it? Here it goes. The first thing to do is to find some peppers which are the same size, or, you know, if you've got a family, then you could look at this and say, Papa Bear and Mama Bear, and then, you know, go down, you know, smaller and smaller size. It'll be okay because the peppers have the same sort of wall to them, so they should be able to cook at the same amount of time. So all you have to do is to, first of all, just trim the bottom off so that the thing will sit up straight, just like that. And then drop the shoulders off the top, and then with a small knife, just dig down around the outside like that, just to where it's got some veins which attach it, you know, the seed pod, and you just remove the seed pod, just like that. Hello! Nothing in there. Good. Trina, once upon a time, years ago, in that old Galloping Gourmet time, put a note inside one of those peppers for me, and so I opened it up, and there was this note from her in the center. Nobody ever thought, by the way, I'm just chopping this up in fine pieces, everybody thought, oh, well, that's him just trying to be funny. It wasn't at all. It was Trina. I said to her one day, I can't cut up another pepper and, you know, and say the sort of things that I normally say. And she said, well, I'll fix it. And I didn't know what she was going to do. And there was this note. It was a very endearing note, but it was a little odd to be able to, in the middle of a program, sort of read a note from your wife inside a pepper. Oh, well, anyway, okay. From these, I want to save these because they're going to go, the little tops, they're going to go into the dish in a moment, and we're just going to throw them all about. Okay. An onion, about half an onion. You know the old technique now, by now. Stick it in the refrigerator, and it saves you from crying. And just here, cut through, because it wants to be fairly fine dice, so cut it through that way, and then cut it through again. And the natural divisions of the onion will give you tiny little dice, okay? And if you want to really do a classic job with this one, you get down to the end here, and it's very difficult then to cut this into fine dice, this last piece at the end. So I just leave it on one side for stock, and then don't worry about it. All right, into a pan here on the heat, 1 teaspoonful of oil. Now that's 2 squirts with a bottle. This, I find, has really helped and is helping a bunch of other people too. If you've got a squirter which has an exact measurement of oil, then you're not tempted to go putting all kinds of quantities of oil into the pan. And it's the oil, you know, which creeps up on you in almost no time at all, especially if you use beautiful, wonderful, you know, magnificent oils. And you just love it so much your hand trembles a little bit, and 2 ounces goes in. It's just wonderful. Okay, so that's sizzling away now, half an onion, a couple of cloves of garlic, just to give it that wonderful aromatic quality that you need. Just smash it down, bash it down to the bottom, and just let your hand tremble a little bit as it does it. Okay, good. And drop that down on top. Always onion first, garlic second. Stir it all around. And breathe in. Enjoy the process. People say, oh, gee, I don't know, I can't cook anymore. All I do is go and get one of those little packages of things, and this is celery, by the way, and defrost it and and then rip the little top off it and serve it to my family because I'm too tired. Do you know when I think that it's probably true that people are too tired, and the reason they're too tired is they don't have breakfast. Have a good breakfast, then you might have enough energy for dinner. Stalk of celery, put it onto the top like that, and now you've got the celery taste to it. By the way, I always go down to a certain amount of that celery end and then have a little piece. Now, when you're cooking, what I was meaning by all that was, if you're going to cook and really enjoy the process, then breathe in whilst you're cooking, because you can't breathe in when you've got a little thing in the oven resuscitating. This is jicama, by the way, and just always cut it completely flat at one bottom end so that you can just cut it through and make the fine dice out of this as well. If you've got other than a flat bottom to it, it'll rock as you're trying to cut it. You could cut yourself that way. So, now this is a wonderful thing. It's crisp and crunchy, a little bit like water chestnut in quality. This is what it looks like, by the way. It doesn't look very inspiring. You might have seen them in a grocery store. Jicama with a J, J-I-C-I-M-A. And it's crisp, crunchy. I use it for all kinds of neat things. You know, I'm getting really excited about using it. All right, so now this is just cooked so it's translucent. It's picked up a little brown there, but that won't do any harm to it. Just pull it aside from the pan and just let it sweat out. Now, here are the red peppers. That's the trimming from the top and the bottom of the three of them. And that will give you... Now, look at it. Look at the color, and it's sizzled, and it's starting to get that smoky quality to it as well. Okay, good. Now, one little heat. Now, it depends whether you've got children in your family or not. This is the jalapeno, and this is by no means the hottest of the peppers, but it's pretty hot. And as a matter of fact, it's got a thing called capsaicin in it, and you should be very careful when you've done this about washing your hands. Wash your hands, don't scratch your ear. It's not done anyway in polite society, scratch your ear, but don't do it. Or your eye particularly, because it has a very, very pungent flavor to it. Now, if you've got children, scrape the seeds out. If you don't, then leave the seeds in. Now, we have here a very hot-mouthed bunch. The crew here on this program, whilst they're not around, you know, let me tell you, and the hotter I make things around here, the more they like it. So I put in the seeds just for them. All right. Good. Stir all that about, going very nicely there now. Okay. On top of this, you put some rice. Now, you see, it's rather like you're making a pilaf of rice. So here we take a cup of rice, well washed, and that's basmati or texmati, wherever you actually come from. You know, basmati if it's the Indian rice, texmati. It's the same basic rice. It's a very fine, beautiful, thin, aromatic rice. And then on top of this goes a little half teaspoonful of cumin. Are you familiar with cumin? Just see the smell of that. The moment that comes off the pan, you say, ah, Mexico. It just says Mexico in the most wonderful way. And here now is just a sprinkle of the Creole torpedo, just a little cayenne pepper. Again, watch it, children. But otherwise, for adults. And I've noticed Trina has for years loved, she's got a hot mouth. And I haven't. I've had to have a towel by this when I sit by the side of her. And I've learnt to actually enjoy it. And the sting to the palate has become wonderful. All right? 2 cups of chicken stock over the top. So 1 cup of rice, always 2 cups of stock. That's the way it goes. Just shake that together. The smell is absolutely wonderful. Color looks good, doesn't it? Okay, all right, let's put the lid on that. 15 minutes. When the time is up, when the 15 minutes is up, it's going to look exactly like this one did, because I took that from here and put that there. This is the one that is done. Now, you'll see that when you pull that back, every grain is perfect. It isn't overcooked. The seasoning is absolutely locked into that. It's just wonderful. Now, here's a couple of extra things we put in. Get the low-sodium red kidney bean, right? And then wash them off anyway, and just put those in there. Just have a cup of those. And then 8 ounces of smoked turkey. Right? Now here, all you do is you just simply pass a knife through it, cutting it into even little 1/4-inch pieces. Now you can buy smoked turkey just about everywhere now, and it has a wonderful flavor, but it is very salty. We'll get into the salt a little bit later on, but right now there's 8 ounces of this for 4 persons. So what is that? That's 2 ounces per head. So that's getting right down on sort of garnishing with the meat. Yet it's obviously not a vegetarian dish. All right. So that's all stirred together. You didn't need to cook the turkey. The turkey's already cooked. The beans are already cooked. So that's all ready then to stuff inside. You know, I don't need to show you that. That's just to fill it right to the top and pack it all down, and that's just terrific. Okay. Now, oh, it just went off in my hand. Good, isn't that useful? Now that tells me that I've got the 5 minutes for the kale to go in there. Now, here, put the bottom into the steamer top, and here, this is kale. Now, kale, because it's got such a wonderfully crinkly leaf to it, is also a great trapper of dirt and, well, soil, should we put it that way. I've got a little bit of the jicama there, about a couple of tablespoons full. Couple of tablespoons full of the red peppers, you know, that we had off the top, and just a sprinkling of cilantro. Now, because it can hold a lot of dirt, then put some more on the top. What you have to do is wash it and wash it and wash it. It seems such a shame if you've never had kale before, and this is the first time you ever try it in your whole life, you know it's going to happen. If you don't wash it, you're going to have a mouthful of grit, and you'll say, hey, forget that. Who needs that kind of stuff? All right. So then you place that on the top, 5 minutes ago, and put the lid, crush it down on top. And you can get a lot more, of course, if you then stack it up with another ring in between. You can go up to about 5 rings, and then it dissipates the heat. Doesn't work very well after that. Okay. Good. Now, I'm going to have to take it all off again because I wanted to show you what the peppers look like. Good. Now we'll just take one of those off the top and put that to the side. Just going to show you what's going to happen to that in a second. Put the rest of those back so that they can finish the 20-minute cooking time with the stack and steam on the surface there. Fine. Good. Now, here is yogurt. Now, this is strained yogurt, and I've got a half cup of strained yogurt there, and 1 tablespoonful of freshly grated Parmesan cheese, and a tablespoonful of cilantro, even though Ron doesn't like it. Fresh basil for Ron, a little bit more cilantro for Jolene. And then that is the mix. Now, with that, I just need a spoon, and that's as simple as it gets to be with just a dash of white pepper. Freshly ground white pepper. Black looks a bit obvious, you know, it looks as if there's the soil you try to get out of the kale just wound up in the sauce. Okay, whiz that together, and it's done. I mean, that is such a neat thing. Quick, simple sauce. Now, let's see how it all builds together. Hot plate from the oven, once again. These have been very hot this way. I could almost do a felony now, and with my fingerprints having been removed just about. Here we go. Now, cook it right down. I'm going to take it off the bottom where it's got a little bit more effect from the steam. Lay that out on the plate like that. Have a good hunk of it. Oh. And if you like asparagus, you know, that sort of thing, broccoli a little bit, it's wonderful. Here, just a little bit more pepper on top. And then take a knife, just make sure it puffs up a little bit during the process of cooking. All right? The rice will absorb a little bit more fluid, so just pack it down a little bit of a tip there. And then run the knife blade through it like that. Ah, beautiful. Lift it up and pop it on top of the kale. Doesn't that look great? And then a little bit of sprinkling of cheese over the top of that, a little bit of Hungarian paprika, just sprinkled around the plate as well as over the top. That's just a nice color. And then a spoonful of the cilantro cream in the middle. You ready? Come on through, I'll show you how it tastes. It's wonderful. Just thinking for a moment, the smell of the freshly grated Parmesan coming off the top is just a scattering of, but it does that thing. Okay, let's have a look at the classic. The classic is Mum's standard stuffed pepper, okay, with a nice salad, which is hardly Mum's standard salad, at least if your mum's like my mind. So let's compare the numbers. The first thing is that the 311 calories for the classic is, you know, that's, let's face it, low. But this one is 420. Why is that, Graham? Well, we've got beans in it, we've got rice in it, and that's where you get calories from. We don't get calories from fat because of this. 17 grams of fat in total is down to 5 grams of fat in total, which is good news. Of that, the original 8 was actually saturated, and 2 of that 5 are saturated here. Calories from fat, 50%. Now that's really quite high. This is down to 12%, which means it's a good number for someone who is really at risk. I can serve this to Trina. Cholesterol, 156, down to 27. That's another good factor here with that one. Sodium, 537, is now up to 905. I said I'd say something to you about that. I don't like that number. But that came from this heavy salting of the turkey breast, or the smoked turkey breast. So for anybody with hypertension in your family, cut that portion down by 50% and you'll get that just right. Okay? Then carbohydrates, 24, up to 69, which is fine. Good. Time to eat. Yee! I love this. It's just, this is one of the most favorite dishes that I have now, with a little of that sauce on the side. And the kale. Oh, Graham, shut up for a moment. This is too exquisite a moment. Birds. I need to hear birds. Oh, that's so nice. Jolene, I'm so thrilled that you and Ron like that, aside from the cilantro. And listen at home, please just collect, get the book and write out that food preference list, okay? And then make your own beautiful springboarding dish out of this, okay? Okie doke. Are you ready for the extra meal? Now this is where we simply take something like the rice with all the beans and everything else, just when it's all cooked, double or triple the volume of it, and then put that away in a plastic bag, exhaust all the air, and freeze it. Okay. Now, defrost it in the fridge because it's got meat in it, and if you're going to have meat at all, then defrost that in the refrigerator. All right. Now, or in a microwave. Take here some Swiss chard leaves. All right, now that's a leaf that when it's just been very gently simmered in order to be able to make sure that it is limp enough to be able to handle this way, and just pop them one lengthwise that way and one crossing over that way. And then take the rice mix, and this is a half-cup measure of rice mix there, and just pop it into the top, and then really smash it down hard. You need to smash it really hard and tight. Then flop the extra pieces of the chard on the outside. And you can use anything. You can do collard leaves or chard. I rather like the red chard because of what it shows. See, you just give it a little shake like that. And doesn't that look fun? Just like that. Just perfect. So then you, having made 8 of these, so then you simply drop that down into a casserole like that. And then, just very simply, flip the top of one of those light and tangy V8 juice things and pour that over the top. Now, get the one with a low sodium because these can have a high sodium content in it. So, bingo. Done, all right? Now, put a little piece of foil over the top of that. You can imagine that, can't you? And stick it in the oven, 350 degrees. Give it about half an hour. Bingo. Out it comes. And you've heated it up. It doesn't take but a moment to be able to do that, really, does it? And it is delicious. you can whiz one of these things out here onto a plate. In fact, 2 servings goes to be, you know, 2 of these to a plate. Put a good spoonful of the sauce on the side and get into it. It is delicious. You see, the whole thing is rather like a dolmades, you know, with the vine leaf, and it's going to be too hot for me to eat. Oh, I couldn't. Oh, that is so good. Oh, imagine that. You've gone to all of that trouble in the first dish, and now this one is your kind of dish on the side, and you've got no problem whatsoever to getting it done. Okay? Well, enjoy that sort of thing, as always. God bless. Well, there it is, Jolene. We did it. And Ron, hey, thanks. And Ron, cilantro. Okay, God bless. Bye.